Hello everyone, today's book review is on the intriguing and unexpected The Unseen by Roy Jacobsen, a book that was recently shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. And this was a surprise because it is a subtle book where greatness is drawn from really small events. This is a book that follows a single family who live on an isolated Norwegian island at the turn of the 20th century. We have Hans and Marie, Hans's father Martin, Hans's sister Barbara, a woman with learning disabilities, and Hans and Marie's daughter Ingrid. This very small family of 5 live on a tiny island, Barøy, off the Norwegian mainland. I mean, it is a kilometre long, half a kilometre wide. And the family live in a life that is full of hardship. They are exposed to the elements. They are hostage to the elements. They live a life of immense poverty. But what this book follows on a micro level is the disappointments and the minutiae of life. But on a macro level, this is a book about progress and change. Because this book, yes, it's only 250, 260 pages, but it follows 50 years of this single family. It follows Ingrid growing up, and what it really looks at is how progress is unstoppable, how no matter how much you cut yourself off from the world, change is going to come. And so we follow this family who find wonder and beauty in the simple things, whether it's the crashing waves or the biting winters which can freeze up the sea to the point where they even can skate on the water. But it's also one of isolation, of questions by the community on the mainland who find this family who live isolated very suspicious and odd and unusual. But even Hans and Marie live a life of quiet disappointment and disillusionment. We all have our frustrations about how life never turns out the way we planned. But we all have ambition, and Hans is a man that wants to leave a legacy for his family. This is a story about the next generation always want more. They always want something new. They build on what's gone before. The language that Roy uses is interesting because it's a very bluntly written book. It's not over-flowery in its description. There are no major events, but of course for this isolated community, the usual events of life are major, whether it's birth, death, marriages, unexpected arrivals. These are big events, but not necessarily as we would know them in a book, which tend to have like hugely complex plots and sudden massive seismic events. That's not the case here. This is a very subtle book. Roy writes very bluntly. There's no over-descriptive passages, there's not huge extended scenes of trauma or humour. Yet in this very blunt language, Roy weaves something very subtle, and that really is about the fabric and the nature of human existence. We're always inextricably drawn to march forward. I loved The Unseen. Not one for those who love their huge explosive crime thrillers and powerful narrative drives, maybe, but one that is very touching and one that's pretty revealing and insightful about human nature. The Unseen by Roy Jacobsen.